Welcome to the podcast with your favorite cash flow guys, Mike and Blaine. Giving you the best advice while having a beer. When you're running a business, there are problems every day. Let Mike and Blaine help you out and guide your way. Cheers to the good times with Mike and Blaine for business, beer, and BS.
Hey, it's episode 194. I'm Mike Miley, also known as Cashflow Mike. That is Blaine Birch, the CEO and co-founder of Dry Run. I got to, this one's I'm excited for. I'm excited for because it's something that I just see every single day, just in and out. Everybody has it. Everybody's got this little bone in them. So I'm thinking, hey, let's dig into this a little bit. Maybe get a little spicy.
Oh, I love the topic. It's petty power move or pity party. That's what we're getting into. And it's all about little pettiness in business and or power moves. We're going to debate these and we're going to chat about some of them. So it should be kind of fun because over the years we've all seen kind of weird stuff like that's popped up. So
yeah, I almost called it "fuck that guy," but like I'm like, oh, that's not us. That's not really our brand.
Don't worry, I would have changed it and edited it a bit. It's for those of you that are listening. Mike's the reason that I always have to put inappropriate language every time I upload something.
Oh, is it really on me? I'm the only one that cusses. I think you do sometimes.
I do sometimes.
All right, there we go.
I do sometimes. You lead the way. You've got a very a charming way of doing it with your Texas accent. So
well, one of our sponsors, one of our beer sponsors, the Cashflow Cowboy, he calls it talking Texan. He goes, "Hey, can I talk Texans for a second?"
Nice.
Yeah,
and that actually brings us a beautiful segue right into our beer sponsors every week. We have 5 sponsors right now. And just so you know, if you want to sponsor the show, and we're going to talk about all 5 of our sponsors, no inflation on our show. We started this years ago. It's $5 an episode, and we will mention you. We'll talk about you. We'll even put you in the show notes. It is the best value. All you have to do is go to mikeandblaine.com, click on buy us a beer, and you can buy us a beer, or you can buy us, like a lot of our sponsors, all the way out to the end of the year, all the way to the end of 2025. And before we dive into who our sponsors are, what are you drinking this week?
I'm drinking another Neighbor Pat, right? But I'm going to talk about it, Neighbor Pat a little bit because I owe him an apology. He gave me that stuff last week, right? Remember? And I'm like, I don't know what it is, stout or whatever. I was totally wrong. He has a friend from England, and he's gotten a recipe for this thing called Ruddles. And where I remember I
you
had
mentioned
to
that before.
Yeah, but remember I had to keep it in the pantry until a certain day and then put it in the fridge? Well, yeah, I went to the pantry after he says, well, I gave you a piece of paper what the logo was and all that type of stuff. I went in the pantry. Yeah, it's still sitting where I laid it. So this was the logo and all that he made for his Ruddles. It's Neighbor Pat's Brewing Company. Now, I knew he was old, but I didn't know he'd been doing it since the 1900s.
Wow. Nice. That looks terrific, actually. I love the 1999.
Okay. But I'm not drinking that today. I owed him an apology for that last week, right? So it's a neat story, right? A friend just asked him if he could do it. He ran across the recipe and he's been doing it, and the guy buys like cases from him. He actually sells beer for that.
Awesome. Pat, I also have a small apology because on our show notes from last week, it now says Neighbor Pat's Mystery Brew, because I had no idea what that beer was. So I will update that with Ruddles, with the Ruddles inspired label. So
all right, we'll this time I'm going back with the Neighbor Pat, right? So look what he's doing. Look what he's doing with logos and stuff now. And look at this. It's called Whoa, check out that strawberry blonde.
Nice.
Right. But look,
that's beautiful, Pat.
So he puts on labels, but look at this, capped, and look what we're doing on quality control to him, right?
The levels are almost like exact and even high enough. That's good stuff, Pat.
Hey, I feel like I'm the best supervisor he's ever bought because I'm quality controlling his stuff all the time.
Yeah, he's got a little QA person sitting in the garage there, just measuring everything up, and good to see that. Like, I kind of want to try that one. Sounds like a fun beer. So this week, because we were talking about like petty power move, all this stuff like that, and I thought, maybe it's just time to bliss out. So I grabbed the Establishment's Bliss Out Hazy IPA. Establishment, terrific brewery out of Calgary, Alberta, and love their stuff. And this is a really nice addition. I don't think I've had this one before. It's delicious. So yeah, good job, guys.
Nice.
Jump in to some of our sponsors here.
I'll tell you what, one of our sponsors is for all year long. It's Karen Harrison up in Michigan, 3S Smart Consulting. She does cash flow consulting for businesses. If you're struggling, if you feel like you're just, it just doesn't feel right, contact Karen, right? Because she'll teach you and show you how to put more cash back into your wallet, back in your pocket, back into your life. So contact Karen up at 3S Smart Consulting in Michigan.
And Rachel Barnett from Gentle Frog. So if you are a business owner and you're using like QuickBooks Online, you got to go to gentlefrog.com, or better yet, even go to YouTube/@gentlefrog, and you'll see a ton of videos on how to better use QBO so that you can do everything right in your business for your accounting. So thanks again, Rachel. She is also sponsor all the way out through to the end of 2025.
Yeah. And we got Devin, right? Devin Whip over in Louisiana. I'm telling you, this guy, he talks to Courtney like every week. He knows more about the state of Louisiana, LSU football, places around Louisiana, food. It doesn't matter what it is, Louisiana. This guy knows it. He's the biggest LSU fan I've ever met. So, Devin, thank you for sponsoring us. Can't wait to come down here. I'm gonna try to make it to a game this year. I think we're thinking Arkansas. So if you can make it to the stadium for LSU Arkansas, I'll see you there.
Nice. That sounds like a lot of fun. Thanks, Devin. Appreciate it. And finally, Larry Weinstein, the cash flow cowboy down in Houston, Texas. So if you're looking for an accountant, you gotta find Larry Weinstein. Reach out to him. He's gonna get you all set up. He goes by the hook cash flow cowboy, or the handle, the cash flow cowboy.
Yeah, the Texas Cowboy. It's funny. All right, so here's the thing. We still need to. Do we ever ask? We ask people to like and subscribe, and we said we're going to go out there and say, "Hey, tell one friend, tell two friends." We've got more people signed up for our new thing coming up. It's not the new thing; it's our new celebration. 200th episode. We're giving away the 2 Super PAC. We just got a couple more people in the drawing this last week. I want to put your name in the drawing. So like, subscribe, comment, text, doesn't matter. Engage with us somehow, and you go into for the 200 Super PAC.
The amazing 200 Super PAC, which we have not planned out yet. It might just be like one of those old K-Way jackets or something, but we'll come up with something good. I don't know. We haven't figured out what we're putting in yet.
What's a K-Way jacket?
Was that a Canadian thing? do you remember? Okay. Back
Dude, I don't
in the
even
80s,
have a coat. What are you talking about?
There were these, you could package a jacket into a pouch, and then it had a strap you could wear around your belt, like your waist. It was almost like a fanny pack. And then you could take it out and you pull the thing out, and it was like a hoodie, except for kind of windproof, water resistant.
I think I remember something like that. Yeah, I don't know what we called it.
Probably a totally different name. I don't know. I thought it was Universal. I don't know why that popped in my mind. I just all of a sudden pictured this Kiwi jacket. Anyway, it's dating myself massively. So we will come up with something apparently better than the old Kiwi jacket.
Not only that, you've been in Canada, what, 6 weeks now, and now you're slipping right back into your old ways. About the time you get trained down here, you go back.
I know. I come back, and then I get shit up here for having like a Texas drawl, and I'm like, no, I don't. Anyway, it takes me a while to get rid of it, but I think it's disappearing faster than usual because every other night we're watching hockey, and we're in June and still watching hockey, and that is cause for celebration. So the Oilers are, if you're listening now, they're up 1-0 in the Stanley Cup final. Oh boy, hopefully it's our year, because it's been a lot of years where it sure hasn't been our year. So we'll see what happens.
All right. So let's kind of dig into this, right? So, first of all, I'm wearing my Petty t-shirt that Baylor University made last year. If you can see it here, it's called "We Pay Players." and it was it was a response. It was in response to the NIL, which is mean like going recruiting became totally different over the last couple of years in college athletics because now you can actually pay players. So one of the coaches had a shirt like this made and wore it to practice, and they caught him on camera. So then they started selling it, right? Like
Nice.
we pay players, right? So like I thought that was a petty move, but it was funny. And then for somebody, it turned out to be profitable.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like
So think about
P,
that.
petty, profitable, and power move all at once. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe so. The triple P. So it wasn't this that got it started. It's just that every once in a while you see two people say things, and I'm just talking about the news today, right? This is really where it came from. It wasn't anything that happened in my world, but I thought back, have I ever been petty? Am I going, oh yeah, lots. So, so I'm like, okay, let's talk about that. But you see the richest man in the world and the most powerful man in the world being petty on social media today. Right. I'm talking about Elon Musk and President Trump, and they're just throwing major blows at each other today, just like two little kids would across the schoolyard. Right. So I'm like going, here's the two people that you really look up to in the world, and they're just acting like the youngest childs ever. That seems so petty, right? It seems so petty to me. So
yeah.
Like going, so it happens at every level.
Up to them,
right?
But anyway, that's
yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, meaning that they're in positions.
The position,
the position, the position they're in. CEO of several major companies, both of them, been in positions to make decisions on behalf of a country. That's the position I'm talking about. But
and
when you act
like 3-year-olds,
and when you act like that, you're like going, oh man, I just don't like it. So I started to think about business. And I'm like going, has there ever been a time where I said or did something petty, right? And did it work? And do I know other stories about that? So I'm like going, yeah, that's absolutely right. I mean, there have been times where I've changed the menu just because I didn't want somebody to order something on it.
Nice.
Right. In a restaurant. I'm like going, so tired of that guy because it never came out right. And I was talking about, we had this calzone type pizza thing, right? And the way we packaged it was just the way that we wanted to. But there was always something missing that they wanted to do extra or different, or everything was custom about this. And I'm like going, damn it, I don't want to be a custom calzone shop. I just want to get the order, do it the way we do it real fast and go, right? Because it was slowing up the entire kitchen line, and they would come in and order it 2 or 3 times a week, right? And I'm going, and every time the waitress would be mad, the cook would be mad, right? And it was just everything about this person was different, right? It could never just fall in line. So I changed the menu so they couldn't do that anymore. That was the only reason.
Is that petty, or is that just like really good management, to be honest? Like, there's a good outcome? Like petty, I think, is usually like, just like you kept doing it. Everybody was still mad, but you like oversalted his, calzone or something. Just
we just took it off the menu. Like, I changed the menu. I just won't let you do that anymore.
A little bit of BS here, but I gotta wonder, is there something to do with calzones? Because just a couple of months ago, before we left Scottsdale, we were sitting in a restaurant, and we got a pizza, and like, this place has amazing pizza, Italian place, and we had just like unbelievable food. The table next to us, someone ordered a calzone, and then I kind of sat there and watched them berate the waitress and absolutely lose their mind. And from what I could tell, they didn't know what a calzone was and probably didn't read the description. And I'm like, have you not heard of a calzone? It's like a big pizza pocket. Like
it's a big pizza pocket.
Right? It's a big pizza pocket. And I just got this sense that they're like, yeah, they need to just go to McDonald's or something. They're not going to be happy here. But it seemed like they got exactly what they ordered. The food in this place was unbelievable. And that poor waitress had to sit there and take it from them, because I'm pretty sure they just didn't know what a calzone was and just kind of ordered without thinking.
Yeah, there's just some people, And this is where the pettiness starts. It's and I don't know what it is, but have you ever just instantly either liked or not liked somebody? Like instantly, like on.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
sometimes they haven't even talked yet, and maybe it's the way they walked in. Going, I'm not going to like that person, and it's a hard thing to overcome.
It's a hard thing to overcome. Yep.
Is that first initial impression that hits you, right?
Yeah.
And so I think about that as a customer. I'm like, when I'm being the customer, I'm like, the last thing I want is somebody spit my food or do something crazy like that, right? Because I have enough problems as is. I don't need that too. Right? I was always afraid of that as a police officer, like walking into a place like, oh man, I hate having to order because I'm in uniform and all it takes is one guy back there that I can't see. To ruin my day, or I'd be eating somebody's loogie.
Yeah. I will be honest with you. I've never worked in a restaurant, but I virtually never send food back or say anything. At most, it's like, well, we just won't go back there because I'm so afraid of what would happen in the kitchen if I did. So, which is probably unfounded for 99% of the places. I've watched too much TV, restaurant makeovers or whatever. I'm like, nope, not sending anything back. How is your food?
So is it more petty to send it back, or is it more petty to react to the thing being sent back? Right, because that's the way I see it. Is both of you are acting. Maybe the person sending it back has got legit, like, hey, this is undercooked. This is not. This is raw. This is cold in the middle. Like a calzone could be cold in the middle if you don't cook it enough.
Well, like sending back food could be petty, or it could be absolutely bang on. Because I every once in a while you get food, like you said, it's like ice cold, or, oh, this chicken is pink inside. Like, yeah, we can't even eat it, or whatever. Oh, those things, of course, are super rare. I do remember one time, though, and I'm calling these guys out because this was brutal. This was a lot of years ago. Anyway, actually, no, I'm not. I won't call them out because this was a lot of years ago. Maybe they're better. We were at a restaurant, and I can't remember what I got, but it had a side of fries. And the fries, I'm sure it was a joke because it was so salty. You could it was crystallized on it. And you take a bite and I just started it was, imagine like dumping salt on fries, inedible, right?
Yep.
And so I said to my wife, like, is this just me? And she tasted it. She could barely she literally almost coughed it out because it was like, what are they doing back there? And so I said to the waiter, I said, there's way too much salt on these fries. And so, oh, okay. So he goes back and, okay, here's what's petty. They brought back fries that were unsalted. I'm like, no, you gave me something inedible. And then you gave me something inedible again. And it's like, yeah. So I'm like, no, I'm never sending food back in a restaurant again. I would probably, if it was that bad, just say, I'm not paying for this because it's awful, but I ain't eating whatever you're bringing me out of the kitchen because you proved you are unable to cook. So there have been times where I felt like getting really petty and walking in the back and showing someone how to cook. And it's not like I'm an amazing cook, but there's times when you're in a restaurant going like, do you want me to show you how to cook something? Because I will. That's probably a little petty. That's just goes through my mind. I don't actually do that, of course. So.
Yeah. Well, have you heard of Dave Portnoy?
Oh, the name sounds vaguely familiar, but I don't know why.
All right, so he was the founder of Barstool Sports.
Okay.
I guess he is the founder because then he sold it to a company that was kind of a gambling company, and then famously bought it back for almost nothing, like $1. Right, bought the company back, sold it for $100 million. I don't know what the numbers are, but sold it for $100 million. They were losing all kinds of money. He says, hey, listen, you guys don't know how to run this type of business. I'll buy it back. And he bought it back for $1, right? So he's running Barstool Sports again. But all right, so during COVID, he had this thing. Before COVID, he was doing this one bite pizza reviews. That's kind of his thing. He goes around different places and takes one bite and gives it a review, right? And famously doesn't give it 10. He said 10 is a rookie score, right? Because just that. So it's hard to get a decent score from him. And he does it on floppiness and smell and taste and all this type of stuff. Mm-hmm. Well, I got interested in him during COVID. And during COVID, he was on a mission to help small businesses get exposure. So you could send him things, and he did these unboxings. And like by the second, third, fourth week of these unboxings, he was getting hundreds of boxes of stuff delivered to his place daily. And he would just go through, right? He would just go through. And, if you were tried to be too cutesy or tried to be too slick or about it or whatever, he would just trash you on YouTube, just like, whatever. Just if he didn't like what you sent because you weren't authentic, you were just trying to get on his show, right? Thing. So he would just trash you, or he'd throw it in the trash right in front of people. So the guy's not afraid of confrontation is one of the things.
Yeah.
So he does these pizza reviews, and I saw one yesterday, and this lady's hollering him at the back, and it's so weird because she's never seen a famous person before, right? And they're kind of almost arguing right, while he's trying to do this pizza review. Well, it got me thinking about early on with Dave Portnoy about this pizza review stuff and how petty he was early on. Now that he's got as much money as he does, he's not as petty as he used to be.
Yeah.
But at one point in time, there was a guy that he reviewed the pizza. The guy didn't like the review that he got on YouTube, right? Because that's what he does. And he took a bite and he didn't like the review and started criticizing him and cussing him out, right? Cussing, Dave Portnoy out for the review. So he goes on Yelp, leaves an even worse review on Yelp. Portnoy does.
Yeah.
Takes a picture of the review, puts it on a T-shirt, and starts selling T-shirts about his review, about how shitty this thing was, right? So it's like, this is crazy. Like, that was petty. Like you got mad that the owner got mad at your review, which there's just two grown adults arguing about if somebody likes my pizza or not. So he goes on Yelp, takes a review, takes a picture of it, puts on a shirt, and sells the review. Is that crazy? That's super petty. That's super petty.
It's super petty, but it's also interesting because for a while there, now somebody did it the first time and it was brilliant the first time. And then a bunch of people jumped on board and because there was a little trend for a while where outside of a restaurant or whatever, you would see a little sign and it was like, the worst pizza in America, according to one person's review, the worst pizza in America or something. And it would like the business would almost like own it and they would use it because it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
And it was funny the first time you saw it. And then after that, it's like, everybody's just jumping on the bandwagon, making stuff up, and it's kind of dumb, right?
Yeah, there's a barbecue place in Texas that say, "Hey, we're the worst barbecue place," and of course you stop in there because you want to taste the worst barbecue.
Worst barbecue. It's exactly. And but I will say that it's the problem with petty is it's usually not very thought out, right? So when you told me this like one bite pizza review, I'll be honest with you, the first thing I thought of was thinking about Food Network. And when Food Network has these championship kind of cooking shows, like basically like Master Chef and all that kind of stuff. Interesting, because I read somewhere, saw it somewhere, they said that the ones that do really well is they know there's a difference between an entire meal and a one bite. And so one bite, they will tend to go over flavor, over salt, over everything else, and you get this instant one bite. But if you tried to eat the entire meal, you would probably go, oh, this is awful. And then there's ones where it's like, as an entire meal, it's just perfect. Same thing that I remember hearing this. Someone might correct me, but I'm pretty sure this was the how Pepsi won the Pepsi Challenge because it was sweeter. And in a single sip, Pepsi would win more often than Coke. But if you drank the whole can, Coke would win more often than Pepsi. And so it's this little, anyway, kind of an interesting little thing that you can kind of exploit. But it is kind of like, it doesn't feel very legit. So when you said, he's like, well, you like something authentic, I'm like, I don't think the one bite is actually as authentic as sitting down.
So let me explain what he does, though. He'll go in and buy the whole pie. So you don't know where the bite's going to come from. You can't, you don't even know he's coming in. He just walks in with one camera guy, says, hey, I want to buy a pizza. He takes the pizza outside on the sidewalk, pulls a random piece, and just takes a bite. And then
but what I'm saying is that his review could change dramatically
if he ate the whole thing.
If he ate the entire piece, not the whole pizza, maybe, but like just the entire piece of pizza, enough to get past this, like you're going in blind, right? And then you have this taste, and it's like,
He
this
does
is,
eat
I'm
more,
just
yeah.
interesting, right?
You go watch it. He eats more than one bite. I think that's just what he called the segment, was the one bite
Oh, okay.
pizza
Well,
review. But,
yeah.
but he eats more of it. I can remember he's eaten more of it. But
Okay.
we're
I
talking
was just
about
curious
like
anyway. So
we're talking about like the way customers and businesses interact, right? So I saw one time, and I think I was up in like the Pacific Northwest. And it was like a coffee shop, and there was a sign outside the coffee shop saying, "We refuse the right to serve Steve," and it says, "You know what you did." That was the whole thing. It was like, "We reserve the right to refuse Steve. You know what you did." Like, that's the funniest shit ever. I'm like going because
it is.
hey, you're not really. I mean, you're calling them out if something legit had happened. Then you're calling out a guy and you're really putting in his face, but nobody knows really who it is. If it was made up, then it's just funny, right? If it was made up, it's funny.
It's funny. Yeah. And it is a really good one. But when something funny like that happens, sometimes you think of the first time it probably legit was Steve was kind of a dick. And then everybody hops in the bandwagon and comes up with their own version of it. But I always wonder about the first one, because the first one's probably like, someone got tired of some guy named Steve, right?
So what do you think about those places along those lines that put up pictures of folks that are banned for either shoplifting or bad checks or stuff like that, right? They say these people are no longer welcome in the store. They have a bulletin board. I always go look at it. I don't know any of the people, but I always go look like on who are these, thieves and check kiters.
Yeah. And it's always from a security camera. So it's like the top of their head with a toque on. It always looks like you can barely tell who they are anyway, but it is a little bit petty because honestly, it's like, no one's going to know. No one's going to care. But no one cares, it makes them feel better, right? It just makes them feel better, I think.
Makes them feel better. And I think it's entertaining for the people that come in. Because I think everybody glances at it, right? There's a natural curiosity to go, ooh, do I know any of those people? Especially if it's a place you go to all the time. Do I know any of these people? Right? It's just funny as all. Funny as all. So, hey, what about you? Has there been times where maybe a client just did something, and maybe fired them for something petty, or you wanted to, or you refused to do something?
Yeah, like we've now this is going back to my previous business. You're going back 15, 20 years or more. We have fired clients before. It was never over something petty. I will say the one time, okay, this client was awful. And that's all I'm going to say. And this is like 25 years ago. So I can sort of say a little bit about this. And I'm pretty sure my co-founder and I, we actually flipped a coin to get to see not who had to call them, who got to call them. We were both like, I will say we had done a little positioning. We did our due diligence. We had everything buttoned up. So we're finally like, we got kind of legal buttoned up. We got this. So we now can fire them finally. Right. And I lost the coin flip. And then I heard my partner on the phone say something about like, basically you fired him. Then all I remember hearing is, and I hope you do take this personally. And then he hung up the phone. And I'm like, ooh, this is spicy, but they deserve worse than that. So, but I thought that is a little bit like, it falls into a little bit of petty, but those guys earned it. So, that was kind of funny.
Well, I tell you what, if you're out there right now and you want to do business with a company that will not treat you petty, no matter what you do to them, I want you to talk to the guys over at Dry Run. What are some things and customers? What type of customers would you want to work with that you wouldn't be petty to?
We won't be petty to anyone, but you know what? We want to talk with you if you are a CFO, because we'll have forecasting software for you, and we will help you forecast everything from cash flow through to complex scenarios. Come and visit us at dryrun.com. We will help you look into the future, and especially now, get hold of all this weird inflation, tariffs, everything else you're trying to figure out. We're going to show you that and help paint the way forward. So come and visit us at dryrun.com.
There you go. Hey, Because you guys have really figured out how to stick to your knitting over there, and you're doing a good job modeling complex scenarios and taking a lot of data. If you're the type of company that's a larger company with a lot of data, and it's just to you a wall of numbers, and you will make sense of it, put it in the dry runs engine and let them kind of dissect it and show you the patterns that are emerging, so you can put more cash in your pocket.
Yeah, and I will add on, like, because we have people coming to us every day, and they will go like, "This is," and they'll explain a really complex, difficult situation, and more often than not, they go, "Well, I can't believe I told you. I threw too much at you. It probably didn't even make sense," and we would just go, "Now we got it."
Yeah.
So we're good. We'll get you going. So yeah, come and visit us. We'd love to help you out.
There you go. All right. So about 2 years ago, Courtney made me watch this documentary. All right, and I'm going to explain why.
And you're still mad.
I'm not mad. As a matter of fact, it's she actually confirmed what I always thought about this company. Right?
Okay. Yeah.
Now, Courtney, out of college, became a store manager for a company called Abercrombie and Fitch.
Oh yeah.
Remember them?
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Mm-hmm. And quickly worked her way up into multi-unit management, district management, and that's how she got into regional management. Now, and she's always been in multi-store regional management. So, but she used to describe the way the staff viewed people coming into the store. Right? They were judgy. They were just judgy. Because you remember there was like half naked guys that would stand out front, trying to get you to come in. They'd squirt you with stuff when you walked in, those type of things. And they always look better than you do, right? I'm like, how do you do that? They go, oh yeah, that was part of the interview process. I mean, even times they would bring people in and make them take their shirts off just so they could see what they would look like if they stood them out in front of the store. And if you weren't like floor worthy, you get put in the back with the warehouse because they just wanted pretty people, right? They just wanted pretty people. So they had some look standards. And I'm like, oh man, how did they get away with it? And she goes, they didn't. We got sued, right? We got sued, and it was a big deal, right? So and it happened up in Oklahoma, and she kind of knew some of the people that were involved in that just because she was in management, right? So we're watching this documentary, and sure enough, man, that was the whole culture of Abercrombie and Fitch. Is if you didn't meet the appearance standards of being pretty or attractive, then you weren't allowed to really have a customer-facing position, right? Super weird. I mean, I don't know anybody could get away with that. They got away with it for years. Couldn't. Yeah, couldn't absolutely
do it now,
right?
at all. Yeah,
and the way
it's shocking that they could then, but.
Well, according to the documentary, the way the whole thing came down was one of the employees wore what's the headdress from hibab,
like a Muslim head. I think there's a bunch of different types.
It's connected to the Muslim religion. It was part of her religious freedom and wearing that, and they were making her take it off of work because that wasn't part of their dress code.
Yeah.
And that's where the whole thing came down, was just that one decision by a manager to force that person to take off their head garment.
Yeah.
So I'm watching this thing, but the head garment was that was bad, but it was the other stuff to me that seemed worse. I was like going,
there was a whole pile of brutal that they get away with.
Yeah.
Too, like that they got away with to that point. Interesting.
And I think even recently the CEO got charged with a bunch of crimes. I don't know if it was sexual, this, that, or the other, but I'm like going, okay, yeah, this was a company that was deeply embedded in a bad culture, but the culture made every employee petty. Right? That's the reason I'm telling the story, is that now I have to judge people on what they look like as they come into the store, as they work at the store, as my clients interact with them. Everything about it just seems small, right? Seemed petty. So I'm wondering, I mean, I'm thinking back now, is that the only store I've ever seen do that? Or are there others maybe that you've seen or heard of, that they are that shallow in who they want to work or who they want to shop at their store?
Yeah, well, I guess the thing is I'm not exposed to the the backside of it, right? So I don't know if I would know the sort of internal policies, but I think as a consumer, you can kind of pick up on some of that when you go into a place, right? And I think what it does is it also makes the customers kind of petty, because I will admit, like, I can't think of an instance, but I will admit that I'm sure there have been times where I've either been in a retail store or something that and got really some bad service that have probably got a little petty, because it's like, you kind of like, you treat your customer like shit. Guess what? We're gonna be a little petty here. Like, you know, it feeds on itself, and it's amazing how the culture of your staff and the way you train them and everything, it can just go down the wrong path, and it just leads to it's like reflected. It's like an echo coming from your customers.
Yeah. See, I mean, just like there was a while back that In-N-Out did this, right? In-N-Out, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's West Coast or there's something that makes the people that love In-N-Out kind of a cult, right? Based on that, just like, it's the best burger ever. It's the best fast food ever. You know, McDonald's is garbage. Burger King is garbage compared to In-N-Out, right? There's always that group of people that do that. Yeah. Well, In-N-Out, what people don't remember is they were super petty in the beginning, near the beginning, where they were suing every restaurant that used the same colors as they did. Right? If you tried to use their red or their yellow in anything that you did, they would file a lawsuit against you. It's craziness, right? It's just like, and it was them saying that, you know, you were confusing the marketplace with these colors, and that's not what it was, but it was just enough to harass people. And I thought that was really petty, right? Like, really? The colors, right? I'm not going to confuse McDonald's and In-N-Out, right? To get red, yellow, or whatever. I'm not going to confuse that, right? But they, you know, little companies, I could actually crush them with just a lawsuit.
Yeah. I read an article last week, and I'm just trying to remember because I wasn't paying that much attention. I just found it interesting. And it's a pretty famous story of a guy that you've probably heard it. It was one of the airlines. I'm not going to name which one because I can't remember which one it was, so I don't want to name the wrong one. Broke his guitar, and he's a musician, and it was a high end, nice acoustic guitar, and they broke it, and they got petty, and they wouldn't give him any money for his guitar. They just wouldn't cover the cost of his guitar. So he wrote a song about it, and it was like, I can't remember exactly what it was, basically like, this airline breaks your stuff or whatever. And he literally wrote a song about it, and it went viral. And it was somewhere in the article, it said how much money that like they lost in their stock price. And it was like something like 100 million or something, because they got really petty. They would not pay for what they should. And he got really petty and said, screw you guys, and wrote a song about it. And it was like, oh my God, look at what happened out of that. Right. And it's unbelievable.
That is crazy. That's just
how that
crazy.
Can happen. It's worth a story looking up to find it. It's a really interesting story.
Yeah. And it's so interesting. I mean, just when you think about the pettiness that you could really have, like, that's on a grand scale, right? I mean, that's what we're talking about. Those are grand scales. The ones that I always think about is just that I always look at local business as being hyper local, meaning I know you, right? I have to look you in the eye. I know, you know, in the internet business, I mean, you know, like selling my software or doing my training, I might know you a little bit on, you know, the camera if you come there. But most of my clients don't come to the camera stuff. They just use the product and do it on their own. I know their name, but I don't know anything about them. Don't know what they look like. Don't know what their life is like. Just know them that way.
Yeah.
And even then I could, in my mind, I'm like, oh, I don't like it when they ask a question. Anybody else asks the same question, I would, but there's something about the way they write it. Or there's something, remember, it goes back to instantly not liking somebody or liking somebody. Yeah. And, you know, there's that. Have you ever seen the social styles model? I think we've talked about it before, whether or not.
I think we've talked about it a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, whether you're a driver or an analytic person or an amiable kind of shy person, or an expressive person, likes a bunch of people. Well, apparently you can figure out how to match anybody in that first 5 or 10 seconds just by matching their style, right? That's one of the secrets to success, is to be a chameleon in sales is like going, I can't be a driver if you're an amiable personality, right? Because I'll just bowl you or I'll just scare you, right? Because they're just like, oh, wait a second, you're extra. You're like way too much for me, right? And the analytical person, I can't be the expressive kind of all excited and talking in grandiose type ideas if I'm analytical and I need to know step by step how this product really works. You probably see it in every call that you have with CFOs. If you don't tell them step A, B, C, D in order, they're not going to follow you, right? They're not going to say, I'm confused, right? And a confused mind never buys. Well, to me, that's where that pettiness comes in, because in that first interaction with somebody else, that's where I get that feeling, right? And I can be petty after that. Think about buying a car. You ever been on a car dealership and a guy comes, all he does is walk out the door towards you. But if you're not ready for that, I instantly don't like you, because all I did was drive on the lot. And now you're walking out to like meet me in the parking lot.
Yeah. I was a little petty with the car salesman one time. I'm going to be honest.
Okay.
I was probably not the type of customer, like I was probably annoying for him, because when I was talking with them, immediately they jumped to budget, and I'm just like, I want a car that I love. Let's start with that. Let's find a car that I love. Now, what he probably should have done, and maybe I should have thought ahead and asked for it, is let's test drive some nice cars and let me just try them. But he put me in a box right away. And he would only show me kind of shitty cars. And I was getting a little frustrated, and I'm just kind of, he had decided beforehand, right? And then and I just got annoyed. And then I went to another dealership, and these guys were just like, let's find it. I didn't even say anything. They're like, I got a car you're going to love. And they put me in a car, and I loved the car, and ended up buying the same model, not that exact car, but I bought the same model. And, and then when this other salesman followed up with me, I just had to make sure I dropped what kind of car I bought, because I was a little annoyed, and it was probably a little petty, but I was kind of like, I was just kind of annoyed that I'm like, you kind of treated me like kind of shitty. So you lost out on a nice sale. And I couldn't help it, because I was just a little annoyed to be just that sales like classified in a bucket. And I just felt like there was no service. They didn't care. Just, so I got a little, it's easy to happen, right?
All right. So can a company be petty, or is it a person?
I think it's more it's always a person at the root of it, right? And I think there's times where I think most times it probably isn't going to work out that well for a company to be sort of petty, but there's times where I just kind of like the company version of the guitar guy, right? I think there's probably times where it might, technically be a little petty, but you know what? They're kind of in their right, and people fall in step with it. Some might actually have some big wins out of something like that.
Yeah. So, I mean, a couple of things that, cross my mind, because I use them as an example. I probably have on this show. I mean, Kodak, right? When they dismissed digital photography, nobody's going to want to do that. They want to sort their picture and flip it and do those type of things. Was it petty for them to dismiss it? Like, that's not the future. That's not even the today.
Yeah. Is it petty, or is it just really ill-informed?
I don't know.
I guess maybe it is. There's some of it is a little like the Steve Ballmer's famous, like, no one will ever spend $1,000 on a phone. That seemed a little petty, because it kind of felt like a shot, right? So there's times where it's like making a decision is different than taking a shot at somebody. And you know what I find? I do find that small business, which I love supporting small business, they have a harder time being petty. Like they always have to have top customer service. They always have, and yet the big companies get away with murder, and they can be so petty. They charge you extra. You didn't cancel on time. They can just be awful, and they just get away with it over and over again. And it's really annoying, right?
I mean, Apple was notorious for that. Absolutely. I mean, I remember during one of the election cycles, whatever, there was a new social media company came out called Parler. You remember that? It was like a conservative view Parler or something like that.
I remember the name.
Well, yeah. Apple took away their ability to distribute their app on the App Store. Apple also did that to Google. Refused Google to play in the App Store. So when you start doing that, is that really petty? And I mean that eventually got them in trouble where you can't just ban people from your store because you don't like what they say.
Yeah, I with the company of that size, I'm curious if it was petty or dollars. Like I kind of get the feeling that there's someone that is counting dollars and going, well, that are you alienating some of your core, and actually calculating and going, are we going to lose money off of this? Because I get the sense, like when you get to a certain size of company, I feel like the decisions are so dollar driven, probably way too much dollar driven than they probably should be. And, they probably even count in, we might get sued over this, but I did the math, it feels like with those ones, it's all about doing the math. With small business, it feels a little bit like, okay, I'm going to bring this up. I'm not going to name any names, but there's a brewery in our town here that they really don't hire very good staff. And there was one of the earlier breweries that opened up. We were there a lot. And every time we went in, it's like they'd seen us for the first time. They had no idea who they were. And it seemed like the staff got worse and worse, where they just, and I don't want to get into details, but there was a little special they had on one day. But we basically didn't get the special, even though we kind of ordered the special. And it felt just really petty. And we haven't been back since. And we go to a lot of breweries. We buy a lot of beer. And was it petty? It was petty probably on their side. And frankly, it's probably a little petty on our side. We're just like, screw them. There's lots of breweries. And we go to, there are breweries in town that have staff that we just love, that are so nice. Just you walk in, they remember who you are, and they already know what to pour for you and all that. And I'm kind of saying this because I think there's a point where small business doesn't realize the effect that they can have, that their staff can have with little that we would classify as maybe petty little things. Mm-hmm. And also how customers can react to that. And it's amazing how fast something can spiral down, or go straight up with these little nice touches. And I don't know. I'm curious if it'll be a hard lesson for those guys or not.
Yeah, it's tough to tell. I mean, there's a lot of times, when you, employees are really character, are connected to the owner. So the owner's probably a shitty person too, right? It goes right there.
When they're all, it's amazing. And when it's like 99% of the staff are amazing. And then you go to a place and 99% of the staff are brutal. And we've all seen them like that. It's like, it's the owner, right? Well, or it's the person hiring. It's the person that's responsible for that.
Yeah. When you've heard that saying where A players hire A players and B players hire C players.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So, that's one of those things, because they're afraid that they'll hire somebody that can outperform them, right? Or actually outshine them. So that's kind of an unwritten rule to watch. When you look at it, if you're A players hire the best they can, B players are hire just slightly worse than they are.
I will say, okay, this is only slightly, but it feels like this place is slightly connected to the Abercrombie thing.
Oh, gotta look a certain way.
Because I feel like you go into this place and it feels like they hire everybody because they look like they look like they work in a brewery. Like it feels like, and it's not like it's just they look like they're alternative enough to work in a brewery kind of thing. And then you go to and it's like, did you talk with them? And then you go to other places and it's like, how do they get such amazing staff that are so great? And they you walk in, you're like, I want to go back because they're so nice. Yeah. And then this one, if you took the company picture, they don't look any different. It felt like they just walked in and they went, yeah, looks like they work in a brewery.
Oh, wow.
That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
And it's just bizarre to me. Right. But it's, I guess that's how they do it.
All right. So I saw an article last week. This is a little bit of BS, but an article or saw on the news or something like that, where people are asking AI now if they're hot or not, and asking AI with a picture to determine whether or not they're attractive. I mean, how petty you got to be to ask AI if you look pretty? I mean, what? Is that crazy?
Have you
seen
people
it?
come up?
But
people have too much time on their hands. I've never even heard of that.
No, I just heard about it last week, and I'm like, I didn't do it. I mean, I should do it, but I didn't do it. But it's one of those things. I'm like, going,
neither of us should do it because we're not going to like the result that comes back.
But apparently, AI has developed some type of formula based on what they found on the internet of what's attractive and what's not, and compares you to some type of diagram, right, that they've developed as what's attractive. So, but it's just like crazy. So last week also, did you see, or was it this week? Maybe it was Monday. I had AI create me a King of the Hill, picture of all the guys in the neighborhood.
I did see. Yeah, I glanced at it when it was going by. Yeah.
So I uploaded pictures of everybody's faces. I say, hey, create me an image that looks like the title shot of King of the Hill, a cartoon, and and it put us in front of a garage, all in a line. With beards in our hands. And I told him, I said, I'm more like Boomhauer. Breger's more like Hank. Pat's more like Bill. And Thomas is more like Dale. Right. And that's how it lined us all up. It was funny.
Nice.
It was funny.
Nice. What so apropos for Texas, your Texas community.
All right. So, hey, I don't care if you're selling for diddle hoppers or not. If somebody wants to be petty, they'll be petty. Yeah.
Yeah. We hopefully we can avoid petty both on our side and on the customer side all the time, but it happens, right?
All right. Well, speaking of not being petty, I don't want you to be petty. I want you to go to subscribe. I want you to go and tell a friend. Don't be petty. Don't be withholding this jewel of a podcast from your friends. Share it. Get out there. Sharing is caring.
Yeah. Subscribe, follow, and go to mikeandblaine.com. You can buy us a beer. You can buy us one beer. You can buy us for the rest of the year. You can buy us through 5 years if you want, and you will be mentioned on the show as one of our valuable beer sponsors. So please visit us at mikeandblaine.com.
Yeah, that's a good point. There's no limit on how many you can buy. Yeah,
no,
that's good.
No limit.
Yeah, that's good. Right on.
Yeah. Actually, okay, I'm gonna throw this out here. You could even request. You could buy as many weeks as you want, and you can tell us double down. And if you double down, I will also mention you at the end of the show, or we will.
Whoa. What?
$10 an episode, 2 hits.
What if they triple down? Could they get a mid-roll mention?
Triple down, and we'll even do a little mid-roll mention. Or is that too much? We'll think about that.
That's a lot of you. That's a lot of you if you guys do that.
That's a lot of. We still have to figure out what we're going to put in the Hundo Super 200 pack, 200 Super Pack, because I think is what we're calling it.
There you go.
So that's what'll be monopolizing us for the next little while.
Right on. Hey, another good episode in the book, 194. We're going on 195, and you love numbers like that because it puts us that much closer to the 200 Super Pack. We'll see you next week.
Yep.
Check out their website at mikeandblaine.com. Then subscribe to the podcast and buy these guys a beer.